Good afternoon to everyone, and we can start with our first innovation coffee, and which is a cycle of episodes on innovation. And who are we? We are a group of friends, and we met at Bocconi University, and we all share the same idea that innovation is interesting at first, and it's important to know how innovation works and how the innovation environment is structured, whose players are a part of it, how it works and how it evolves. And therefore, in this episode, we'll go through the different actors of this environment, and and today we will start from one of them, and in the next weeks we'll cover different roles, hoping to provide a clearer picture with different perspectives. Today, the hosting team is composed by four of us, and now we're going to have a very brief introduction of each of us, and then we leave the floor to the talk with Francesco, who's our guest today. Myself, I'm Davide Scaglia, and I'm working in management consulting, and after an experience in tech, and I'm currently based in Asti due to the coronavirus, but I'm usually based in Milan.
Hi everyone, I'm Marco. I am currently working in the tech sector, and in particular for clients in the pharmaceutical industry. And I'm currently based in Barcelona, so I'm here right now. But I studied in Milan, and yeah, I graduated recently, so and October of last year.
I'm Pietro, also working in tech in a startup in Berlin after a short experience in Chicago. So I moved to the headquarters in Berlin, and really happy to host you and learning more from your reality.
And last but hopefully not least, I'm Marco, also working in consulting, and had some previous experience in an e-commerce platform and on digital consulting firm. I'm very interested in learning more about today's chat.
Nice. So today, for the whole public, let's say, so if you guys have questions, just post it on the Zoom chat, and we're going to review them, and we will have a short Q&A session at the end of the interview, and so we'll go through them at the end. Today's topic is to understand how startups are created, how they grow, and they contribute to the innovation environment through a special perspective, which is the perspective of Peekaboo, and that we will understand better. Now, Francesco, we're very pleased to have Francesco with us, and telling us the story of this player, which is on the one hand interacts with startups, and on the other with big corporates. So it's interesting to see how innovation is transferred among them. So Francesco, do you want to introduce quickly yourself?
Absolutely.
And then we go through the other questions.
Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Francesco Ehrenheim. I'm 25 years old, and I'm the co-founder and the director of Peekaboo. I've started to working in the startup ecosystem at the age of 19, at the last year of Liceo Scientifico, and I started interviewing, improve my network, and learn by the experience of entrepreneur of a startup with $1 million of revenue. During the university, I started to do computer engineering at Politecnico of Milan, and I've launched a couple of projects that allowed me to meet Peekaboo and to meet Your Digital, that's his boutique of digital consultant. After 3 years, at the age of 23, Peekaboo asked me to become a founder of Peekaboo in Milan, and to become a director of all the B2C business line of Peekaboo, and of all the B2B of the north area in Italy. Now I am the co-founder and the director of Peekaboo. I am associate partner of Your Digital and vice president of the Metra, that is a no-profit organization active in the startup ecosystem.
So interesting. And so how to move, so moving to Peekaboo, so let's focus on what you're doing now. And how did the idea started? So from the founders, and how did it transmit it to you?
Okay, it's interesting because Peekaboo was born from a failure experience. Paolo and Federico, that are my partners in Peekaboo, had a startup in the food industry. Its name was Easy Dinner, and it was like the Fork. Do you know the Fork? The app.
Yeah.
Okay. They had raised 300K of euro, and then they failed because of the arrival of the Fork in Italy.
Okay.
And the things that was interesting is that the friends of Paolo and Federico were not so interesting in what the Easy Dinner was, but in how Paolo and Federico could turn idea into a business, into a startup. So they decided to start a program of 2 months in which they, with the help of other mentors, could help talents that have an idea to turn this idea into a startup, throwing a methodology of validation and agile project management as Scrum or Lean startup. After 6 months, they got that the program was interesting not only for the talents, for wannabe startuppers, but also for the corporate, because with the program, the corporates could innovate their internal business challenge faster, and they could use the program to teach our middle manager how to collaborate with the startups using Scrum or using the methodology of Lean startups. And in this way was born the complete Peekaboo. Now Peekaboo has two-side platform. On one side we have corporates like Enel, Unilever, Nestlé, and we help them to innovate faster and collaborate with the startups. And on the other side, we have startups. We have more than startups. We have talents. So people that want to turn idea into project, and we help them to become an entrepreneur and to collaborate with corporate and startups speak two very different languages, and we are a sort of Google Translate for corporate and for startup.
And so do you have a specific focus on the different startups that you incubate?
No, we have decided to stay flat in the market because I think that the startup industry, the startup ecosystem in Italy is too young, and it's too difficult to find every 6 months 10 good startups in a single market. So we decided to stay flat. The methodology to validate an idea is the same if your idea is in the food industry or in the entertainment industry. It's the same. We launch the vertical program only when we collaborate with corporate because obviously Enel is not interested in startups that change the food industry, but only in startups that can change or can solve their business needs.
Of course, understood. Nice. It makes sense, like in a small market like Italy, to be broad, to be more flexible, to accept more ideas.
Yeah.
And
If we are in Silicon Valley, in Tel Aviv, Berlin, the startup ecosystem is not younger. It's not so younger. So you can find good startups in a single market frequently. In Italy, no, it's not. It's not like that. Absolutely.
Okay. See.
Okay, thank you, Francesco. So I have also a couple of questions on regarding the selection process that you need to perform or to do with the startups that you have. And so I am interested to understand mainly, so from one side, from your point of view, so what are the main characteristics that you search in new talents, as you say, or startups, when deciding them to enroll in your programs? At the same time, also, what do you offer to these talents and startups to encourage them to come and join your program? So this is, I think, an interesting point. If you can tell us a bit of this.
Yeah, during the process selection, we don't focus on the project. We don't focus or on the business, on the idea. But we focus on the talent, because I think that we work in a very early stage moment of the startups, and it's so difficult. Almost, yeah. If I were Warren Buffett, I can do it, but it's very difficult to analyze an idea and to understand if an idea has a potential to become a big tech or big company. Is I think that it's more efficiently focused on people, because a good team could turn a bad idea into a good one. A bad team could turn a good idea into a bad one. So it's more important talent and the team that the idea itself. And on the process selection, the startups or the talent can apply through our website. We make a one-to-one call to each team that applied, and we talk about the background of the team. We talk about the experience. We talk about the vision of the team, and we talk about the project. Then we take few days, 5, 6, 7 days to analyze the team, to analyze the market of the project, and we decide if the team are ready to enter in this program or not. During the program has a 3-month program in which every week the startups can meet a mentor. I think that we have a stronger selection with mentor indeed than startups, because for us, for me, a mentor is not a person who has understand how to do startups, or reading a book or making an online course, but a mentor is a person that has its own startup and has solved a various problem during his life as an entrepreneur. Every week, the startups could meet a mentor, and we start with analyzing the business idea, the market, the business model. Then we pass through the validation process. Then we start thinking about a validation funnel, and at the end we pass through the financial or raise money for the startup, preparing a pitch and presenting some of these startups in front of 40, 50 business angel or private investor, or others organization like incubator or accelerator.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, no, really interesting. And so, just going back to the to your point about the type of talents and startup that you receive, you were mentioning that they normally are quite, let's say, young, or in the sense that the idea often it's really at the early. So you are a sort of pre-accelerator, right? So how is different? What's the difference between this and another accelerator, for example, on this? So
okay. We work on the phase to zero to one. That is Peter Thiel's book, and it's the moment where innovation happens, because you have an idea. It's always only an idea, and it's not a project. You don't have a website. You don't have a product. You have an idea, and we help this type of person to turn into a business. The accelerator program or incubator take idea that has just validated. You have to have a matrix. You have to have traction to start an accelerator program. And the great difference between the pre-acceleration program and the accelerator program is that often the accelerator program invests money on your startup, and for this reason you have to be ready for this type of program. We are earlier than the accelerator. We turn idea, really only idea, into business.
okay, and so let's say that potentially, let's say the journey of a startup or initial idea is to start with you and then moving on with other type of
Exactly.
structures. Okay, and okay, yeah, I think it's a particular also interesting, let's say, context. And is it common to have this kind of pre-accelerators? We often hear about accelerators, for example, no? So the accelerator, but pre-accelerator, it's a bit less known. Could you tell us why is it the case? Or because I mean that when someone has to start with a new idea, probably that is one of the hardest part as well, no? To get someone have this type of knowledge and then to express it and to execute it a bit more structured and somehow.
When you have idea in the market of pre-accelerator, we are not the only one who does pre-accelerator. There are any other players like Startup Geeks or the Startup Training, or before us there was Innovation Lab, that was a pre-accelerator program. It was so good, and for various reasons they closed. I don't know really why, and but the market 4 years ago, when we started, the market was not ready to teach how to become an entrepreneur to people, because there were accelerator, there were incubator, there were online courses, but there weren't any type of pre-accelerator program. And I'm very happy that Peekaboo was one of the first doing these things, because it's it's really difficult to see the result, because turn idea into business, it's difficult, because a lot of people failed try to do that, but when you found when you find the person, when you find the talent, and thanks to you he becomes entrepreneur, he turns the idea into project, is fantastic. It's fantastic.
I imagine it's also really rewarding from your personal side, no? And to see this, so yeah. Really interesting also to be in such a place where you can see all these different and people with these kind of ideas and a lot of hope for the future on this. But yeah, so going back on also on the point of the mentors, so I was curious to also know a bit more, let's see, on the merit on what you actually then do on this program. So so you say that you connect these mentors with the startups, and so these mentors, what do they do? Do they teach something? And then what are the main areas that you focus in your program? So
okay. We have different types of mentor. At the start of the program, we have mentor more focused on teach how his business model, how could you make market research, and with at the end of the program or in the middle of the program, the mentor are more focused on make a personalized strategy for the startups. And the goals of the mentor, the goals of Peekaboo, the goal of the startup have to be to make traction, make to take feedback from the market, because the market is the only person that he is always right. And we our goal and the mentor's goal is to help startups to go to the market really fast. You don't have to wait. You don't have to have the perfect product or a beautiful product. You have to go to the market faster and take the feedback from the market and then improve your product. And this is how we work.
okay. Okay, and do you think there is one specific area on in the that actually then the startups or the talents that you are training, they are at the end saying, okay, really this is something that we think that was one of the main gains that we got from your program, if you have to pick one, or in the
area, in what sense? Area, a specific area?
So, for example, so when you have to learn, for example, about test validation or about a different process on how to translate, how to understand, for example, the different customers, how to understand, this when one single person, for example, comes to you and wants to launch, so learns how to translate it into something more concrete, or if then at the end they learn more about how does it mean to validate a product? What is a minimum viable product, for example? So about these areas, what do you think that it's one of the most important, or in general that give a lot of value to the startup or the talent?
Okay. Allora, the most important area, area, but teaching is to be curious, to don't have fear about the failure, or to don't. You don't have to be scared about to launch early, to launch fast your product. All the process of startup validation is about the data. The only thing that is very important is the data, and you have to learn how you can take data from the market, and you have to be able to read this data in the right way, because if you read this data in the wrong way, your decision the 90% will be wrong. So I think that the more focus on Peekaboo, the most important area when you have to launch a startup is to be able to read and to take data from the market.
Okay. And so you think also it's one of the areas in which, let's say, startups fail also the most at the beginning in reading the data wrongly, or not being able to find the right data to validate their idea?
I think that they are not able to find the right data. They are not able to think at the right question to put on the market.
Okay. No, for sure. This is something not easy to understand, and also to find exactly also what could be the potential customer as well, no? on this side. Okay. Okay. I had a question regarding the. So you were mentioning that you are a two-sided platform, no? So you're focusing on the accelerator, but also on the other part. So it could be also interesting to understand why you have this type of two-sided platform. And how do you relate these startups with the bigger companies as well?
Okay. We start with the big company, and we start with digital due diligence, or we have to understand what are the needs, the internal needs, the internal challenges of the corporate. Then we search in the Italy market and also in the Silicon Valley market, early stage startup that are launching a product that could solve the internal needs of corporate, and we make a co-creation of product between startups and corporates, and we are really we are only like a Google translator for corporate and startups, because they speak very different language. They have very different roadmap. The timing, the time is different for a corporate and for startups. For startups, 1 week, 2 weeks are long, are much time. For a corporate, 2 weeks is like 1 day for a startup. And we translate the corporate language and the startup language, helps startups to have the money, to have the brand reputation of the company, and we allowed the company to innovate faster, because a company is obviously the company has more power than a startups, but has an organization very complex and very slow. And these things in the innovation industry could be lethal. Collaborate with the startups, allow the corporate to solve this big problem of a complex and a big organization.
Okay, but so in which sense? What does it mean more concretely to connect these startups and these big companies? So in which how do they give value, for example?
There are different type of collaboration. It's a little bit technical, maybe. There is M&A in which a corporate could buy a part of all the startup. There is POC, or POC, proof of concept, in which corporate paid for a proof of concept of the product of the startup. There is a way more there is some this word that is I don't know how explain that. If you take a startups and you allow the startups to work with the company, in the office of the company, with the manager of the company, in this way, there is not. It's not a very collaboration with the change of money, but it's more like a collaboration in sense of transfer of know-how from the startup to the corporate, from the corporate to the startup. But it's you can collaborate with the corporate in different, very, very different way.
Okay, okay. And so just then to connect to the to our part of the accelerator. So one of your aim is also to help to kind of connect and so have these startups and talents that come for your programs, then be able also to be connected with the bigger ones, or they are more or less separated in terms of the startups that you search for the big corporations, for example. I don't know if you want.
As a big corporation, you benefit corporation. Okay, B Corp in this sense.
Yeah, in the sense that you were saying that yes, so you have this big corporation that try to maybe they have some needs and they want to this can be satisfied by these startups, for example, at what you were mentioning. But at the same time, you have all these talents and startups that they're doing independently their program, no? So if startups are the ones at the end that are going to help these big corporations.
Yeah, absolutely, because we do co-creation, because you are a talent, you have an idea, and you have an idea that wants to change the energy market. You are doing the Lean Startup program, our pre-accelerator program. Our partner is Enel, and is for me, for us, is obvious to take your startup and present it to Enel, because for you it's a great opportunity, and for Enel it's a great value, because they, in this way, they can map the early stage innovation in the Italy market, and it's a very has a very, very big value for a great company, a big company.
Great. Yeah, I really imagine that in general to have this connection, and sometimes it's not easy to connect, but I think that the job you're doing is for sure helpful, and
yeah,
in this. Okay. I think now we can move on more on the Q&A section. So we have some questions also coming from the attendees.
You mentioned that you have a two-sided platform to manage, and you can imagine it's quite a challenge and maybe sometimes a sort of a nightmare. And I wanted to understand how you go around with this management process. Meaning, do you try to first address big companies and tell them that you have a pool of talents which they can access to, or do you try and go to the talents and say, hey, why don't you collaborate with us and we can put you in touch with big companies and you could share your ideas?
Yeah. We do the things at the same time. We have a Lean Startup program that it's a pre-accelerator program that starts every 6 months. Yeah, 6 months. And it's a flat program, not vertical market, but flat in the startup industry. And in this way, we could have a talent community, a startup community that can be useful when you have to talk with the corporate. And but at the same time, when we go to Nestlé, for example, at September we launched the Nestlé Startup Program, that is a Lean Startup Program, a pre-accelerator program with the focus on Nestlé challenge, and so the food industry. And we take this challenge, and then we search a talent, we search a startup, also in our community, but in all the Italy industry ecosystem. And we make this like with call for ideas. So on our website, or with Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram, and so we launch this call for ideas in which all the people around Italy can apply with the idea, with the project about the challenge. Then we select 10 of this project and we start the program with this.
That's very interesting. Thank you for that. I think there's also this type of process is also used in the pharmaceutical industry.
Okay.
Where there are, I
But
can
we
remember.
we collaborated with Allergan.
Okay.
Do you know Allergan?
Yeah.
Okay, it's our client. So yeah.
So probably because I remember that one of the things pharmaceutical companies would do is if they had some, like, of course they have their own R&D department, but maybe what they would do is they would launch some challenges or calls for ideas, and then they would use let's say distributed talents to pick up ideas. So my question to you would be, did it ever happen that you were interacting with a big company and they told you, look, we have this problem but we don't have an idea to solve it, so you would then go back to your pool of talents and ask them to produce something to tackle that?
Yeah. We do that because, for example, with the Unilever, the corporation, very big corp, and they searched a startup in the early morning food industry. They don't have any idea to solve this challenge, to solve all the part of logistic, and we created with the Unilever startup program three different startups that then we presented to Unilever. And the interesting thing is that in the hackathon, it's the most famous type
Challenge.
of event in open innovation. You have 3 days to work with of your startup. In the Unilever startup program, startup program, you have 3 months with the mentor, with the high manager of Unilever, with all the other startup like Movenda or like food delivery that can help you. And in 3 months, you can really go to the market. You can really have a traction. You can really have a metrics. And then it is easier for Unilever to understand how which startups has a value and which is not. So yeah, it's very, very useful, and it's very funny. It's fantastic work with the talent and with ideas, because it's a completely different person. In this program, we have the 17 boys and the 60 manager that want to launch the startup, and wow, it's amazing.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it's really about crafting the idea, so it's like really interesting. And I think what you just described is also very to the point to understand what you mean with co-creation. So it's not just I'm calling for some ideas, but I actually help talents to meet the client's needs. So thank you very much for clarifying that.
Thank you very much, Francesco, for the interview. It was very interesting. Do you want to close our interview with a funny fact, the story that you told us about Berkeley the other day?
Oh yeah, Berkeley. We last year we went to Silicon Valley. Paolo and Federico, my partners, went to Silicon Valley, and we met the director of innovation of Berkeley, the university, and we asked, and they asked us to create a white label program that Berkeley now are using to do pre-accelerator acceleration program in the university. And it's fun because from the Silicon Valley, they decided to take a little Italian society, Italian corporate to innovate the University of Berkeley. It's fun, and I'm very happy.
No, it's great. I think that's it's a very interesting experience. It was worth sharing. And so for me today has been really exciting, interesting to see. And I was very curious about it, and I'm really glad that you shared your time with us. to see the role that that Peekaboo is having between, like on these two sides, so in between corporates to help them innovate faster, with startups or talent to have like a bit of support and of structure from the corporates to put ideas into practice, and so contributing to what we like to call the innovation environment, so helping like communication across like this environment at a very early stage. So at a stage which is like very creative and helping solving entrepreneurial problems to talents to entrepreneur, maybe helping them with data, and on the other hand to give companies a bit of view on what's going on in the like early stage environment, which is really hard to see and to have also for like especially for I guess like corporate managers who are like focused and quite busy on don't have time to like to screw and take time to wander around the like an environment which 99% is not going to be useful, but like on that 1% is going to help them quite a bit.
Disruptive.
Exactly. And so yeah, and then so amazing to see like this dialogue between all these parties who has different cultures and so on, and like we can see that in also yourself like being a bit stretched among such like cultures and dialogue and styles. So I think this is all for today. I think we're running out of time. But thank you very much, and we're gonna have our next talk soon, and we'll keep you all posted and talking to some other players of the environment. And so thank you very much to everyone for participating.
Thanks to you all, and thanks for inviting me. Have a good weekend. I hope to see one of you in the startup industry or in the next year to innovate together.